Yes. Good morning. We're just checking the audio. Can you hear us probably well? If you could confirm in the chat or just put a thumbs up to confirm if you can hear our audio well. Right, I see a thumbs up from Samson. The rest of the attendants, can you hear? Perfect, great, very, all right. All right, Philip, great. Perfect. You're very welcome to today's webinar. And today is the first of the webinar. We're going to be having our moderators taking us through the first course of today. And John, alongside Maria and Maureen, are going to be our moderators for the day. John, good morning. Can you hear me well?
Yeah. Can you hear me, President?
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank
very
you very
well.
much.
Great.
Is my video clear? Is my video clear?
Yes, it is certainly clear.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. You can take us through the meeting. Glad to have all of you here, and you're welcome. Yes, John, back to you.
Okay. So I'm going to apologize for the inconvenience in network issue and a technical issue, but let me kick off immediately from where I began. Yeah. So I want to welcome you for this event, and I want to say how glad I am to be part of you and be part of the moderators of this occasion. And I want to thank all of you and allow me to say good morning. Permit me at the very offset to also say that we have different people, including our professor who is the dean, Mr. Henry, and it's very good to acknowledge such people. And I recognize different protocols, and I salute you accordingly. So let us officially open this occasion with a prayer, which I said earlier on, but praying is should be part of us. So let me pray again, and we kick off. Yeah. So if you're joining, you can mute, and for organization and stop disturbance, we mute and we leave one person so that we can kick off immediately. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of life you've given us. We thank you for everything. We thank you for all moments. We thank you for protecting us during this time. And we know with your grace, we shall persevere through these conditions and get better glories. And we pray you bless us as we lecture today, as our minds are open today, our hearts are open today, and we be no different like we are today. And our careers, let them be built and let them be fixed and let us progress very well. I pray this Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. So I want to say once again, good morning. And I hope people who are hearing me can, I hope people there can hear me. So at the same point, let us observe a moment of silence for people who have died during this period of time. And one of them is our Dr. Godfrey Messenger, our senior lecturer, and a very big figure to many of us. And let's observe a moment of silence, if only to recognize his legacy and give him the due respect he deserves. May eternal rest grant upon him and all the departed souls. Amen. So kicking off once again, I'm going to say good morning. And let's just begin by also thanking the previous MES cabinets who have organized such similar engagements and set the platform for us, which we are basing on to give you the same things with the same ambition and same goals. Some of the previous pictures of engagements that have been happening include MES afternoon, which is similar to this, and the pictures are there, and you can see key speakers speaking to students, mentoring them, advising them, and telling them more about career guidance and achievements in the career. So yeah, what I'm going to say today is not different, and what you are doing here, this engagement, is not different from all those other engagements. It's similar but unique, basing on its standardization and focus. Firstly, it's unique because it's an online event. You know why? Because they have been victimized by COVID, so we're having it online. And secondly, we are having a huge number of responses, a huge number of people who have turned up for it. And thirdly, the key speakers have vast knowledge of what is going, vast knowledge, and have remarkable reputation in their work, and they are really going to help us understand what we need to do and what we need to have for our career to be enhanced at the later age or later time when the primary grooming begins right now. Let me also want to introduce my co-moderators, Maria Amorin. My name is Omel John, and I'm also a moderator. Our agenda, we actually passed it to you via email. Hope you have it, but that's our agenda for today. I'm leading it to introduction session. The professor is going to come in. The professor is going to be coming in shortly, and he'll be talking to us. Then at this same point, allow me to talk over Makerere Engineering Society and its efforts to ensure that we do our best as the elected committee to give in our best to ensure that our stakeholders benefit from our programs. Just that our day one, we are having Engineer Ben as our speaker, then Engineer Irene Kaga as our speaker as well. So as you can see there, Makerere Engineering Society brings you the webinar conference edition connecting you to country's top engineers, including Engineer Ben, who is a lead project at bringing you Engineer Irene Kaga, who is the ED of the UCC. He'll be talking to you in a short while. Going forward, our main aims are to actually ensure you are mentored, ensure you're actually mentored, inspired by their speeches. They'll be taking you all throughout the stories of how they achieved it, giving you in-depth analysis and statistics of what is happening, and everything you need to know about your career and how best you need to position yourself, and how to come about everything. So I'll go straight to our theme. Our theme today, which you are well familiar with, is our theme today is to position yourself for the engineering job market. A subject which has become very topical of late, especially in such times where we can't predict the future. So we bring you top engineers in the country to explain to you in depth how you need to position yourself for the job market so that you can benefit from the opportunities that are available for you. Then my core aspects we shared with you. We tend to tackle the core aspect, how to build a brand as an inspiring engineer before graduation. We as MES, that's how we pledge. So going forward to our speakers today we are going to be having Engineer Irene Kagawa, the Executive Director at Uganda Communications Commission. If you don't know it, it is a body that regulates communication and all digital technologies in Uganda. She has a remarkable reputation, experience to guide us through our career enhancements. And then it's not lost on me that science and technology and digital technology in Uganda grows at a cumulative annual rate of 25% and creates more unmatched engineering opportunities. And it's regulated by the UCC. We are going to be speaking to direct herself to tell us about those opportunities and what opportunities. Then our next speaker is Engineering Ben Chamber. Currently is the president of Uganda Institute of Professional Engineers. He is well conversant with the quality an engineer has to have to be in the working field. So talking of matters of quality, he knows the right qualities. He will tell us that we will need to have so that we get those opportunities and tap in those opportunities. And also to remind you, he did his master's at Makerere University. So feel free to share with him, to take him as a family, and he will speak to us as his children and in the best humor as possible. With that, I'll allow me also to acknowledge my team that have facilitated all this event and ensure that we be stand there for you where you need us the most, especially during this time. And I hope all of you be graced and blessed as our presenters speak to you and open your mind and heart about everything. So in a short while, I'm going to be inviting the dean, the principal, Sedat, who has actually been our mentor and our guide in all our operations, to officially open the occasion and we need and tell us more of what you expect today. Thank you very much. Professor Henry, so can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. We can
you hear me?
We can hear you, sir, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. The MES president, the leadership of MES, all participants in this webinar. My name is Henry, for those who may not know me. And currently I'm the principal of the College of Engineering. The MES leadership, enthusiasm for the organization and for providing leadership to the student organization. As you know, MES is the biggest student group in SEDAT, as it comprises all the engineers, all the engineering students. So we really treasure it, and we expect a lot from the membership. And of course, we are grooming you into the future engineers. As you know, before you get registered by law in Uganda, you are not a recognized engineer. So, but by you participating in these activities, it means you are preparing for being members of the institution of professional engineers and also being registered. I would also like to appreciate and I should have recognized the keynote speakers we've invited. All of them, I know them. Of course, I know Engineer Chamber, and there was also our student, by the way, not too long ago, and we've worked closely with him. Engineer in Sewankambo has been a key partner with us at SEDAT. UCC, Uganda Communications Commission, which she heads, has facilitated us on a number of conferences, a number of activities, and we would like to say thank you. Chira Motors Corporation, as you all know, is originally was part of SEDAT. Now, of course, they're a separate entity, but we still have an appendage. You may also want to know that as principal of the college, I'm also a board member at Chira Motors Corporation because of the previous engagements and the history behind. Even the vice chancellor is a member of the board of Chira Motors Corporation. So really, we're in touch with all these organizations. Even Umeme is also our key partner. Umeme employs many of our graduates. A good number of graduates are in Umeme, and we look forward to fruitful engagements going forward. As you know, COVID-19 has changed the way we work. this could have been a physical meeting, but now we're having it virtually. And, you know, I think we need to learn and cope with the current times, you know. Now everybody has to be bringing whatever they can in their own area, but we have to come together through virtual means. So I would like to thank you for organizing this virtual engagement. Also, I'm on the way, just like you've noted, our colleague, Engineer Dr. Mwesige, passed on, and we're going to bury it today. So right now I'm on the way to the burial press to represent the college. So I would like to play that his soul rests in peace. But in order for us to make his legacy live longer, we need to do good things that he really endured. He was a hardworking man, was very focused, was you know, lively, was always a good advisor on many issues. So really, we've lost a good researcher, a young man by the names of Engineer Dr. Mwesige. Now, I saw your program. I think it's a very nice program. You are focusing on positioning the graduates of engineering in the job market. I think that's a very good move. We need to always position ourselves so that we remain relevant. If we don't position ourselves, we will be regarded as irrelevant. So I think it's a very good topic, and we shall learn. And I'll be happy to see the report and you know, outputs and impact from this webinar. You are also going to talk about those key topics that are going to be presented by the guest speakers. They are also very, very pertinent. And as I've said, most of these people you are engaging with are our main employers. Many of our graduates are in those organizations. They are in, you know, UCC, they are in MES. Now, Chira Motors Corporation is also growing and is going to employ more. And you know, Chira Motors Corporation being a vehicle manufacturing entity will require many you know, they require, you know, services from outside. So that even if you have a small factory that can produce bolts, you can supply those bolts to Chira Motors Corporation. Because as an assembly plant, they won't be making many of these components themselves. So I think you need to position yourselves so that you are able to manufacture components and supply the plant that's going to be assembling the vehicles. So I think this is a very relevant topic. I've also seen that you're going to discuss some of the soft skills. As you know, at the university, we mainly emphasize the hard skills, the technical content, the practical part, the practical bits, but you also need the soft skills, the way to communicate, the way to engage with stakeholders, the way to keep people satisfied, even when there are issues. So I think those soft skills are also very, very important. So really mine was to thank you, the organizers, thank the participants for coming to attend the webinar, and let's do more of these. Also to thank the keynote speakers, the invited guests. We don't take them for granted. These are very busy people. They are very busy people. So for them to set aside their time and be with us means quite a lot. So with those few remarks, I want to wish you a nice webinar, and let's learn from the processes. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, our principal, Professor Henry. We are very glad and very happy to have you officially open the occasion, and he won't have time to be with us because he has engagements to represent us at the burial of our lecturer, which I want to thank you for all your efforts. So as you were saying, one thing I noted is one of the key things he said is we are on a war footing and our enemy is going to be defeated by unique ideas and ideas that will make us position our careers very well so that we can defeat that enemy. Let me invite my co-moderator to invite the speakers, key speakers, and to give you the topics of your key speakers, but you should also be getting your pens and pencils and ready to get those unique ideas on how to position your career. Let me invite Maureen right now. Maureen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you
Can
very
you get
much.
me right?
The floor is yours. We can get you.
All right. Thank you so much. I first of all welcome everyone to this meeting. And this session really is, I feel I'm going to get a lot out of it. I, as a lady in engineering, when I look into the speakers of today, I find out that I have a lady who is coming to talk to me. So I hope all ladies out there, you're really waiting. You're waiting eagerly. Having been blessed to have Engineer Irene Kagwa, who happens to be the director of mission, and to listen. I hope to get down every and for it to keep us in that room, the speaker will don't worry to question you would wish to ask, because they are here for us today and we are really privileged to them. President, Uganda of patients, and I hope most of you members, if you're not a member yet, that you are supposed to be for us, where we need to work on different aspects of life. So at this time, allow me to welcome Engineer Irene Kagwa to come and take us through the impact of technology and fourth industrial revolution, the industry. Irene, you can come and talk to us. Engineer Irene, can you get me?
Thank you very much. I'm just setting up my screen. Okay.
Right.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I assume everybody's in Uganda, so it will be good morning for everybody. Firstly, allow me to convey our deepest condolences from Uganda Communications Commission, and especially the engineering fraternity here at Uganda Communications Commission, to the management, staff, and students of Makerere University, and especially of SEDAT, upon the passing of Engineer Museveni. We pray that his soul rests in peace. So thank you very much for inviting me to speak on this subject of the impact of technology on the fourth industrial revolution on the engineering industry. I'll just use headphones so that you don't have so much noise from external. I'm close to a road. So I won't take it for granted that we all appreciate how it is that we came to where we are in terms of the fourth industrial revolution, because many people end up mixing the industrial revolution and the technology. And I thank the organizers for the way they crafted the subject of this presentation, because that was certainly taken into consideration. So we go back to really what an industrial revolution is all about. It's about what is driving the way people are working in that period, the way people are producing, manufacturing, and being productive in that era. So we have the first industrial revolution, which by and large was about the steam engine and steam power that was being used as the fuel for everything. So you have the steam locomotions that were coming in around that time. Then we moved on to the second industrial revolution, where we now had electricity coming, and you can see that there was all that assembly. We created the assembly lines where, you know, you had things moving in an assembly process and division of labor. And then the third industrial revolution came around 1969. For many of us, we think computers and IT are a very recent thing, but this started around 1969, when we now had computing come on board and electronics become involved. Now, today we are talking about the fourth industrial revolution. And one of the things I keep reminding people is we tend to talk about it as if it's coming, but the fourth industrial revolution is already here. And just in this share and give you a snapshot of all the different technologies that encompass the fourth industrial revolution, where we are talking about mixing electronics and physical objects to be able to improve you know, the sensory power of all these different objects. So I won't read each of those technologies, but this just gives you an idea of what is there. And we tend to talk of technology being a disruptive issue. We talk about different technologies and say that's disruptive technology. Fourth industrial revolution really encompasses a whole set of disruptive technologies that are changing in a positive way different industries as well as professionals. I just gave a few examples there of some of the areas where we typically encounter the use of these technologies. But again, in the interest of time, because I know I don't have so much time, I won't go into each of those. Now, I also thought it important that we look at, yes, in the previous slide, I showed you a whole spectrum of different technologies that exist in the fourth industrial revolution, but what are the key driving technologies? We have artificial intelligence, where we are getting machines mimicking human intelligence. There's always been a debate about, are they going to be as intelligent or just mimicking intelligence? So I emphasize that mimicking, because yes, it is only as good as it has been made. So it's trying to imitate how a human understands things and then acts, having understood the various issues, so that they can handle what typically humans perform. We also have what we call distributed technology ledger or blockchain. Most people, when they think of blockchain, think of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is only an application of blockchain. Blockchain is so much more than just Bitcoin. And this really looks at immutable distributed or decentralized database. So you don't need to have a central repository, but whoever participates in that blockchain has a mirror of the registry based on the access that you have allowed. And of course, this uses the cryptographic signatures to make sure that then that information is protected and cannot, just be changed or deleted without everybody in there agreeing to it. The more common one, I believe, being engineers, Internet of Things is no longer a new thing. At one point, it used to be a wow issue. Then at one point, we started talking about Internet of Everything, because everything now was getting that embedment of sensors, so that they are able to monitor, collect, exchange, and make decisions, and also be able to be remotely controlled, especially for the different industries, as we'll see shortly. I'm normally asked, can you have 4IR without 5G? 5G is the ideal in terms of the performance of all these systems. In terms of what it requires, yes, we need increased broadband speeds, and 5G does provide those increased broadband speeds. But now you have these Internet of Things. You can imagine all these small gadgets and all these sensors that are communicating on the networks. So you need a network that is able to handle that amount of traffic and be able to provide that speed of connectivity to allow those sensors. Because one of the advantages you'd want in Internet of Things is that real-time experience. So 5G enables us to go into that near real-time experience, so that you have the functionality and the full advantage of all these technologies. Another area that is, of course, key with all this data and all these models and decisions that have to be made, you need to have high computing power. You can imagine, I'm sure if any of you has ever tried to do some simulation or modeling, and you use a computer with a weak processor, you find that your simulation is either going to drag, or even along the way, it may probably fail to continue. So you need that processing speed. And that is where the quantum computing really becomes very handy. I'll go on to the crust of the presentation that I was requested to make in terms of the impact of the technology and the 4IR, specifically on the engineering industry. I noticed on the rest of the program, you're going to handle a number of aspects we look at from the engineering context. And one of the key issues I recall many years ago when I had just started off my own working life, I was told the difference between an engineer and a technician. An engineer is a problem solver, a technician is the doer. So the engineer comes up and designs and provides, the solution and hands it over to the technician to implement. So in that context, when we look at what the engineering world, we fit in all these different industries. We're not just in ICT, as I've already spoken to in the earlier processes. So how do 4IR come in to facilitate? Many people normally look at it in terms of robotics, and they look at robots taking over the role of humans. But a key aspect that has been recognized is we need collaboration between humans and robotics. That's the term cobotics. So cobotics, where we have humans and robots collaborating, is facilitating better productivity, because those routine work are then passed on to the robots, and the humans then focus on the most strategic design work. And therefore, that division of labor provides for better productivity, quality of work, and also flexibility in workspace. The 4IR is also fostering smarter, faster, and more accurate business, technical, and operational decisions, because when you harness technologies such as AI and the Internet of Things, so you're able then to, through that, have a more analysis at a faster pace and be able to come up with a smarter and faster decisions. We also have utilization of smaller quantities of materials, less wastage and energy consumption, because again of some of the technologies that are being spoken to. These are helping us find ways to reduce our carbon footprint, our electricity consumption, due to using of less materials through efficient means that have been introduced by the 4IR. 4IR, all of us keep talking about digitalization as a means to improve our performance. Now, of course, as already mentioned, with the different technologies, 4IR helps us process vast amounts of data a lot faster. You have the supercomputing facility. So this enables you to information that you'd have needed to download onto from the server, then have the server take a number of days processing it, and maybe give a report a month later. You're able now to do it a lot faster due to some of these capabilities of the 4IR. Network traffic management is another aspect that has become key. With the same way you have cloud, you have fog, you have edge computing. So you have, you're able to plan your storage and say, I'll buy storage from the cloud. I'll have edge computing so that these are done a lot. I have the computing facilities on the edge of my network rather than maybe far off within the cloud. So that network traffic management, reducing the amount of traffic that is on the networks, is another attractive component that has come through. Infrastructure efficiency, now you find, we've been talking for some time about virtualization, but now with 4IR, again, you find that an entity or an organization requires less infrastructure and therefore are able to adopt some of these digital techniques much faster due to not having to set up, a whole server room and all these different infrastructure because of facilities like the cloud. Ease of automation, of course, if you've done all those, then your excuses of not automating are even less. You have all the opportunities to be able then to automate a lot more of your processes without necessarily looking at it as replace the humans, but improve the performance of the humans by facilitating them with technology. Specifically in our engineering discipline, you find that with 4IR, you have engineering data being able to be visualized and simulated. So thanks to virtual reality, augmented reality, and 3D printing, you're able to then have a visualization of the information, which allows us to do better modeling, design work, and even speed up our design processes and development as engineers. That, of course, automatically leads us into simplification of designing, prototyping, and also reducing of actual lowering of production costs. As an engineer, you will be valuable to your employer when you help them reduce their costs without compromising on the quality of the product or quality of the output. So technology, the 4IR technologies actually help you in this respect. Then also in terms of analysis of patterns, as engineers, of course, you'd need to be cognizant of trends, even within the organization, whether it's a telecom company, whether it's a manufacturing company. You want to be able to see the trends easily and be able to inform and make quick turnaround decisions. So with these 4IR technologies, you're able then to be able to identify those trends in a huge amount of data. You can imagine with all the Internet of Things out there, collecting valuable data that's coming in, you're able then to analyze it quickly and give constructive proposals, and even be able to set up high complex data models very fast just because you have supercomputing speeds. Securing of sensitive data. When you look at blockchain, blockchain is very good in terms of making sure people don't just alter records. So you're able to add that security of the data that is recorded and collected using that technology. Biotechnology is also helping in improving energy efficiency. I especially added this so that people appreciate that these 4IR technologies are not about just engineers who are in telecom or ICTs. They benefit engineers all over the full spectrum. I will conclude by this particular slide, which just seeks to show that all these technologies can actually contribute to any country, including Uganda or even an organization, as we address each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. Even issues where we thought, there's no role to be played, you find that the basket, or at least one of these technologies, is able to contribute to facilitate our achievement in that. So thank you very much. And I will stop there for now and take any questions. Over to you, Maureen.
All right, thank you. And anything you have
Yes, I
to,
have
to
hello?
Are you getting us?
more
Okay. So what I want to thank Engineer Kaga for I want to thank Engineer Kaga for the guidance and eye-opening messages and for teaching us more about digital technology and opportunities around it. And I can tell you with those slides and everything she has shared, everything seems we are moving in the right way. And I know for a fact that if we follow what she has told us, we won't say different. I want to thank you very much. It's a sensational presentation. And at this point, I know you who have been following the proceedings or what you might be having questions. So I'm going to invite the questions. You can drop your questions on the chat. My co-host will be reading the questions through and will choose ones that will be answered by our engineer. But hope you have all your minds and hearts have been opened up by that sensational presentation. And thank you very much. Drop your questions on the chat. So for organizations that you can, we can exactly to your necessities and things on your questions that must be answered for you to work upon your career and position yourself, tap into the world of digital technologies. Thank you very much. Maria, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Okay.
We shall.
Okay.
We thank you so much, Madam Kagwa, for the presentation, and we want to listen to some questions from the students. And we are so delighted for the information you've given us. You've actually added more knowledge to our studying, especially the impact of technology, because most of the times we study, but we don't know where to apply our theory, but you've actually showed us the impact of technology to the outside world. So we shall be getting some questions from students. I am named Maria Christine, and I'll be taking you through this session. So you can type your questions in the chat and I'll read them out so that you can get answers. Yeah, any questions?
Maybe I don't know whether I'm supposed to wait for you, Maureen, to decide which questions I should take, or should I just pick the questions from the chat? Please advise.
I think you can choose the questions, but we take maybe 5, given the time. Okay. Yeah, but you can choose them.
Okay, I have a question about my journey, how I made it in and out of campus. I guess that's irrespective of my career journey, for those of you who are interested. When we finished, I won't say exactly what year because you'll start counting my age, but when we finished campus, 4th year, all of us, are hanging around campus wondering what next, only to hear MTN had gone to the Faculty of Engineering and interviewed the people who are engineering. Now, because telecom was just starting, all of us wanted to go into MTN. MTN was the new thing. So we felt we had missed out in that respect. And but I was not beaten. And just to step back, during my industrial training, the third year industrial training had been with the Uganda Electricity Board. And then my next industrial training had been with the Uganda Post and Telecommunications Corporation, which was later split up into Uganda Telecom Limited, Uganda Post Limited, the regulator, and Post Bank. So when I was at UPTC, I picked an interest in telecom. And why do I bring this up? Again, as you leave campus, in our days, we used to do electrical engineering. So we did heavy power, electronics, and telecom all in one course as electrical engineers. So you got out of university with the three options to us, and you had to choose which industry you then want to go into. And my passion had now gravitated towards the telecom industry, where many of us were feeling like, yes, that's the new thing where we want to go. Although, of course, when we were studying, it felt a bit hard, but we all wanted to go there. So the long and short, I joined Uganda Communications Commission at the lowest level, the entry grade, that was for new fresh graduates. And I worked we were among the very first people in the engineering area. At the time, it used to be called technology department. And I have ended up working in there at the different levels. I only had a brief change out of there into the research and development area before I was brought back into the engineering department. So that's the long and short of my career in there. Why do I bring that out? Choose what it is that speaks to you. And very importantly, if you think when you get your degree, you're done, then engineering is not for you. It's especially now, it's all about continuous learning. So every day you're going to learn something new. Even the rest of us are still in a learning process, because look at 4IR. When we left campus, you will learn the technical principles of the subject. But as you apply and as you continue through your engineering profession, you find that you're just building onto those technical principles, and you have to then do a lot of continuous learning to be able to be a good engineer. And yes, there was a question about, sorry, trying to sift through all the questions and make sure that I can group them so that we understand each other. As students, you have not been exposed to the 4IR. Don't worry about that. That should not be your fear. That, because I'll give you an example. When I first went for my very first master's, I have 2 masters, one in signal processing, communication systems and signal processing, and another in economic management and policy. So when I went in our days, we got exposed to the computer at university. And for many of us, a lot of it was when we had to then do C programming and then typing your thesis. Now I go to the master's and the lecturer asked, so how many of you have done programming before? And I happily put up my hand feeling like, yes, me. Because I had done C programming as far as I was concerned at campus. And they're like, so what programs have you done? And I'm hearing MATLAB, and I'm like, what? It sounded Spanish. Everybody else in the class, because it was in University of Bristol, so we had a very international class, they were familiar, and I felt like even they were younger. And I was thinking, it is C programming. And even the C programming, by then I was feeling rusted after 2 years of feeling like, oh, thank God I finished campus. That's the end of it. I don't have to see that C programming stuff again. And here am I being told MATLAB. So you will find all these new things coming along, especially if you come to an industry like ICT. ICT is a very dynamic industry. So things are always changing. 10 years ago, okay, more than 10 years now, the relevant thing was GSM 2G, and there you felt you knew a lot. Now you're in 5G. So each time you have to keep learning. It's a continuous learning process. So just because you haven't encountered some of these things at the university, hope is not lost. It is about the interest, you being interested in learning and teaching yourself. I will give you another example. When I first joined UCC, that very first year, UCC bought this equipment for measuring quality of service and handed it to me. And my supervisor told me, you know, that equipment costs more than your 1 year's salary, so handle it with care. But here are the manuals, teach yourself how to use it. So here am I having to take on equipment that I have already been told, even if I worked a whole year, I can't afford to pay for it. Yet at the same time, I have to use it. So it becomes an interest to make sure you're able to teach yourself these things and be able to expose and learn and take advantage of them. But even from the government side, there's a 4IR strategy, national strategy that has been developed. And it's looking at how we can harness. This already recognizes that there are users, and then there are the people who have to develop the applications for it. So you fall in the category most likely of the developers of how to harness the 4IR strategy. We're also setting up a lab, an innovation lab in Nakawa that will be open up to private sector, public, academia. So someone can go there and take advantage of the systems there to develop applications that harness these technologies. I hope I'm trying to make sure that I'm not leaving any questions behind. How is UCC ensuring Uganda successfully goes through the 4IR without being left behind? Good question. Firstly, the role of Uganda Communications Commission is as the regulator. So there is a policy maker who is the Minister of ICT on behalf of government. Then there is the regulator who makes sure that policy is implemented by creating the regulatory environment. And then there are the operators who are licensed by the regulator to make sure that we realize what that policy has been put in place. So as a regulator, we are continuously, first and foremost, collaborating with our colleagues elsewhere to make sure the standards that are developed speak to our local context, but also then bringing them down to Uganda and pushing them down to the operators so that the consumer, through the services provided by the operators, enjoys all these benefits of these technologies. Remember that as a consumer, it is not that you're getting AI, it is not that you're getting blockchain, you're getting the functionality, the harnessing of those. So we want to make sure that the necessary infrastructure is in place so that those different technologies are able to be harnessed by whoever wants to use them in Uganda. How best can we tap into this technology? Most companies require us to be versed with different engineering softwares, which is not the case when we are studying. Yes, I have shared my MATLAB experience. First and foremost, there are so many disciplines of engineering, even within just the ICT or telecom. So not everyone, it's not a must that as an engineer, you must know networking, hardware, software, applications. You can specialize in a particular aspect based on your interest. Some people are not interested in coding, for example. So if they have to do coding only because they have to do it, they won't enjoy it and they won't be creative. Then there are people who, by virtue, their interest is troubleshooting and networking. This is very common with the guys. So you won't find that one going and sitting on a desk to write code. They want to be live in a system, to be looking for what is the issue, what can I improve here and what can I change there. So don't feel that because of 4IR, you must only be doing software engineering. There are other fields as well that you can look at as a software, as an engineer in this era. The networks have to continue. So there's designing of networks, there's radio planning. For example, many of the engineers in Uganda Communications Commission are involved in spectrum management. So they have to make sure that they plan the spectrum so that there's optimum benefit to the country and to the people who use it, that we are coordinating with the respective countries. For example, you can see that we use GSM 900 in Uganda, GSM 900 is used in Kenya, GSM 900 is used in DRC, Tanzania, and the spectrum doesn't know borders. So it's not going to go up to the border and say, oops, Uganda ends here, I have to stop here. The waves continue. So they have to make sure they keep planning, coordinating with their counterparts. And this is work that engineers do. When someone else wants to use spectrum, they have to do, the analysis to make sure that that is correctly done. So there are vast opportunities, even if you have this 4IR, because 4IR still is just a different set of technologies. But in the engineering world, it continues. There's a role for the developers or designers, the role for those who are into the operational and maintenance, and all these are different opportunities you can take advantage of. In terms of a place for students or professionals who want to develop their ideas in relation to advancement of 4IR, I mentioned the innovation lab that is being set up at Uganda Institute of ICTs in Nakawa. We'll provide more details when it is fully set up. So far, we've only bought the 3D printing equipment, and we hope to have the other facilities in, then we'll notify you. And as members of the public, you'll be welcome to use it. Can we find a way to implement 4IR through workshops and seminars at universities? Because I believe that would be the easiest way to deliver. Yes, the country already looks at academia as one of the people who is like a key resource in being able to do these technologies. So your projects, for example, there is a project that especially the College of Computing has been very active in making, putting their foot in the door in terms of applications. And we also have a program that we have continuously done with SEDAT, the National Conference on Communication that takes place every year, where we encourage people to, we do all these projects for third year and fourth year, and we put them on the shelf, and they end there. But many of these projects are very good projects that can actually go on to provide solutions to this country. So we want through that platform of the National Conference on Communications to help people put forward their innovations and partner with other people who can help them take them forward, so that we see more realization and turning those projects into very good products. So as academia, again, you are a strength and an asset that everybody looks at. So if you see the strategies all the way up to the international level, academia is seen as a key opportunity in this respect. How far is 4IR under 4G in Uganda specifically? We actually do have some projects that are using some of the technologies that come with 4IR. Internet of Things is one of the commonest, by the way, in Uganda. Many of these tracking companies, even when you look at Umeme, so you have things like smart metering. Of course, we all have different smart gadgets with us. So that is the most common. Blockchain, we also have a number of blockchain projects that are underway. I can't discuss them at this point because some of them are different confidentiality levels, but we have a number of organizations that have embraced 4IR. I'll give you a simple one. Mukono University introduced chatbots. I haven't checked whether Makerere is one of those universities, but they created a chatbot. Now, when you look at chatbots, they are actually using AI to be able to answer the routine questions. So what they are saying is, rather than have a call center and a person who answers the same questions every day, you have a system that is first level. So a person thinks they're speaking to an individual, but they're actually speaking to a computer that has been fed with all these popular or common answers and common questions, and is able then to answer those common questions. So when you then ask something that is not in the basket it has, as the typical escalation process in a call center, it then escalates it to a human being who now is able to now think through and give you an answer specific to that, because maybe you're asking a question that hasn't been asked before. So as I keep saying, these are not things that are new in Uganda. 4G is actually already around the country. I would have pulled up a quick presentation, a map to show you. Some of the operators really have significant coverage of 4G around the country. I think we're at around 65 to 70% geographical coverage of the country. But yes, we want to be a lot more. We are aspiring that our speeds, we want higher speeds so that we are able to have that real-time experience that we seek. 4IR and the pose of the risk to employment, I keep telling, and that was why I emphasized the issue of cobotics rather than robotics. At first, there was the fear that 4IR is going to replace and take away all the employment. But now, remember that these systems are created by human beings. So there's always going to be work for the people who are creating those. It is an issue of I feed it what it produces. So the people who, unless we get to a point where these machines are able to create themselves, we still need the human beings to do it. And now the industry has noticed that we still need that coexistence. You know, if you ever, had an encounter, okay, maybe not had an encounter, but read about Sophia, the common robot, although she's not really a robot per se, but yes, she doesn't have the sensitivity that a human being, that emotional intelligence that the principal was talking about. There are those human decisions, for example, you make with a human factor. Yes, the principal says this, the policy says this, but because of a human factor, you say, you know what, let me make an exception for this. So if you leave it to machines alone, they don't have that emotional intelligence. So that's why it's appreciated that we need that coexistence, that collaboration between humans and these robotic systems to be able to get that full effective system. Also, some of these robotics can never, their jobs they can't do. They are typically deployed to do the repetitive or the routine. So what it's saying, it's now reducing the human being to do the most strategic functions of thinking and planning, so that at the end of the day, you then have this one doing the routine and saving you that work and task. Satellites seem to be an emerging technology. Yes, I'm actually going to participate in a meeting this afternoon where this is one of the areas that are being looked at in terms of what is new. We were used to the geostationary satellites, and that's all we knew. But now they are satellites that are able to rotate at a lower altitudes, like the LEOs, and now we have the nano satellites. And there's a program under the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation that is into developing a space project. So Ernest, who's interested in that area, that is somewhere you could go to. I can see time is running, so I'll probably pick, I don't know whether there is a question that I haven't answered. Are students able to access internet at favorable costs? For now, the provision that has been made by government is that every educational institution will be exempted from tax. We also have the Research and Education Network, which I know Makerere is a member of. And that one is one of the efforts that brings together the educational sector. As UCC, we were key sponsors to them to make sure that they participate in that Ubuntu network of Africa and come together with other universities so that they buy internet at a more cheaper cost. Now, unfortunately, COVID has disrupted our beautiful plans where, the students are able to access internet in the schools and educational institutions, but we continue in partnership with other institutions to see how best we can facilitate them in the circumstances exploring, services like zero rating, so that again, we see more people online. Thank you very much. With the coming of 5G, will this hinder coverage of 4G? No. The way we see it as an industry, they are going to actually coexist for some time, the same way we've had 2G continuing up to now. 3G may be what will fall out soon if 4G picks up. But again, that's dependent on people having the terminals. I'll first stop there for now. I hope I've answered broadly all the questions, and I'll turn the floor back to you to advise. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, based on the questions I'm seeing on the slides, I can say by this time, we must solemnly vow that post this conference, we are going to have new thinking, compassion about our career, and do that. Thank you for answering all those questions, Irene, and you've answered them very, very well, as expected, and you've exhausted them to the fullest. So at this time, allow me to invite my co-moderator, Maureen, to invite the second speaker, who is going to also enlighten us about many key things. Maureen, can you hear me? Maureen, can you hear me? Okay. Maureen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, please. Okay, please.
Thank you, Jen. Can you hear me? Yes, I do. Do you get me? All right. Thank you so much. We are again privileged to have of the Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers, and we are really happy that he has been part of SEDAT before. He really knows what it takes to transit from a school
Maureen, your network is on and off, but all she's trying to say is to thank the engineering for your work, for enlightening us and extending your efforts, not as an engineer or the ED of UCC, but as a former student of Makerere. You know what it takes to get there, and for enlightening us. So at this very time, let me take this opportunity to invite to take you to our next speaker, Engineer Ben Chamber. He's a great man, a father. He's a father. He's a current president of Uganda Institute of Professional Engineers, organization that was formed in 1972, before even the NRM government came in place, and has remarkable achievements. He is the current president right now. Major role is to ensure all engineers are to perfect qualities. If that is going to come in to tell us more, based on his experience yes, on how best we need to work upon our careers. It's this juncture, I'm going to invite Engineering Ben, and I'm much honored and glad to take this. I'm going to invite you, sir. Are you hearing me? Are you there?
Yes, John, thank you very much. And I want also to thank. Yes, I want to begin by thanking the ED UCC, Engineer Sewan Kambo, for that enlightening lecture she has given us this morning. So I want to begin by recognizing the principal of College of Engineering, Professor Ali Naitwe, the Dean College of Engineering, Design, Art and Technology, the patron, Makerere Engineering Society, the President MES and your executive, members of MES, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by thanking the Almighty God for the gift of life for each one of us. I would like also to stand with our colleagues who are battling with the pandemic and sympathize with those who have lost their dear ones, more especially our beloved engineer, Dr. Mwesige. May we observe a moment of silence. May the souls of the departed rest in perfect peace. Amen. It gives me great joy to interact with engineering students who are the future generation of this country and will at an appropriate time take responsibility for leading and developing this country. I would like to thank the President MES for the invitation extended to me as one of the guest speakers at this webinar. It is really a rare opportunity that will enable me interact with you and appreciate some of the needs of the current engineering students. I was a university student like you in the early 2000s, and I imagine things have changed over years. I was particularly excited when I was given the theme of the day, how to build your brand as an aspiring engineer before graduation. Maybe before we begin, we need to understand what is a personal brand, because that is the key word there. And to me, I'm saying that a personal brand is defined as the unique combination of skills and experiences that make you who you are. It is how you present yourself to the world. Actually, a personal brand is you as a person, what you stand for, the values you embrace, and the way in which you express these values. That is maybe the simplistic definition of a personal brand. We are talking of those unique combinations of skills and experiences that make you who you are, the values you stand for, and the way in which you express those values. Effective personal branding will differentiate you from the competition and allow you to build trust and prospective clients and employers. You would also realize that several of your classmates will be doing the same course. A number will acquire the good grades, but what are those unique qualities that make you stand out? So that's what we want to look out for you as an aspiring engineer before you graduate. It is therefore important that this personal branding is critical to your career management. It is also very important for the income security. As you realize, networking success will all depend on how you brand yourself. If also you are a freelancer and other career goals, it also rotate around how you brand yourself. Therefore, it is very important to realize that all this will start right from university or college. So if you are to stand out of the crowd, then you need to work on your personal brand right from the university or college. One important thing I wish to underscore at this meeting is that engineering students must strive to excel academically, because you are saying we are transiting from college to the maybe workplace, the job market. So the most important thing I want to tell you here is that you must, as engineering students, strive to excel academically. You must get honors degree, particularly second or first class. Here, there are no room for mediocres, and we all appreciate that. Engineers best brains. So this one must think right from now that if you are to excel or to strive out, then you must excel academically. And for me, I'm encouraging, if you are a person who is a lazy person, then you must get a second upper, but I expect a first class. And I want to tell you that anyone who finishes the engineering course with a pass degree is for sure heading for trouble. Chances of employment are very limited for pass degree holders, particularly in the public service. Our principal will tell us, or will attest to this, there are no chances of work for those who get actually pass degrees. And even when you want to upgrade in your career, then chances are limited that they will consider somebody with a pass degree. So as we want to build our career, I'm emphasizing that you must excel academically, and the least I would expect is a second upper, but I expect a first class from all of us. In order for an engineering professional to sell in this competitive market, you must aim at getting the right class of degree, right skills, and competencies. You should aim at becoming generalistic before you specialize. Here, what I'm emphasizing that it will be only engineers with the prerequisite knowledge and skills that will stand out the test of time. So what I mean here is that you need to be generalistic. In other words, don't mind saying that you know everything before you specialize. Maybe after you are at undergraduate, you might be doing all of it. And then after that, you specialize maybe in a certain area, say highways. I strongly urge you to take industrial training and internships very seriously, so that to enable you acquire the right skills and competencies for the job market and or for the private sector. It is that people, when you're at university, maybe in year one, for those of you who are in year one, you are doing some research, and you're around campus doing a lot of work. So I want to implore you to take it seriously. And about skills, here the principal talked about it, and here I'm emphasizing that it is only people with the right skills and competencies who will stand out the test of time. And when we talk about skills, here we observe that many engineers focus their professional development efforts on improving their technical skills. However, to handle your work effectively, you acquire additional skills, including interpersonal skills, conceptual skills, political skills, diagnostic skills, and soft skills, etc. We heard from the principal and even the ED of UCC. She was telling us that technical skills enable proficiency in a specific activity that involves methods, processes, procedures, and techniques. These are the core of our training. For an engineer, be it in whatever field, electrical, mechanical, biomedical systems, we all need to have these technical skills. These are the core. But like even the principal actually told us, we need additional skills. And here I'm emphasizing skills like interpersonal skills. If you are really to brand, to build your brand as an aspiring engineer before graduation, you need to have good interpersonal skills. And here interpersonal skills deals with the ability to work with, understand, motivate, and communicate with individuals or groups. I appreciate that maybe at university you normally do courseworks. There are other lecturers who give courseworks in groups, or there are those who give as individuals. But if you are somebody with bad or with poor interpersonal skills, then you will not be able to communicate or work with others. So this is something you must build as you transit from maybe college to university. These interpersonal skills, they also encompass the ability to communicate with people, to resolve conflict, and also to discipline. There are people who cannot really resolve a smaller conflict. Something comes up, but you are unable to resolve that simply because of your poor interpersonal skills. Then when we talk of conceptual skills, these include the ability to understand abstract or general ideas and apply them to specific situations. They also involve understanding how the total organization can be affected by a specific activity. It is you as engineers who actually very good. You need to conceptualize things and see how this can actually apply in a specific situation. So it is very important that as engineers, you work on those conceptual skills. Then political skills. Actually, in other universities, I've started hearing them, they are teaching political engineering, but basically they are talking of these political skills. And the political skills encompass the ability to acquire power needed to achieve one's objective. Specific political skills include being able to win others over to your cause. So if you are somebody who cannot persuade others, then you are lacking some political skills. It's not I'm talking of the extreme politics of going to become a member of parliament, but all those leaders, they exhibit those political skills. Then the soft skills, as the principal emphasized. Do not underestimate the importance of soft skills, and these are several. They are such as critical thinking. For an engineer, you need to have that unique problem-solving skill. These are all soft skills: critical thinking, teamwork, presentational skills, and many include, but have highlighted above. Evidence of soft skills are what sets you apart from the crowd. If you are somebody who cannot internalize a problem and solve it, then you are lacking that problem-solving skill. As critical thinking, actually, this attempts to reason at the highest level of quality in a fair-minded way. If somebody talks of critical thinking, it is all about attempting to reason at the highest level of quality in a fair-minded way. And also, this critical thinking helps you to learn about analyzing solutions and selecting the best solution. You select the best option out of the many. So as engineers who are in the making, how you can really build your brand, you need to acquire these skills. Communication skills. You will need to communicate with others at various levels throughout your career. So this one is something which you need not to underlook. If you are a poor communicator, then you are likely not to excel. Then teamwork or collaborative skills. When everyone on the team works together, problems are solved faster, solutions are more effective, and quality is maintained. So having good collaborative skills is very important. So colleagues, what I've been emphasizing here is that you need to really have the right skills and competencies if you are to brand yourself as an aspiring engineer before graduation. Then other attributes which you need to possess as a person as you brand yourself is that you must have the right attitude towards work, attitude towards assignments, attitude towards colleagues. I would give an example. At university, there are some people who have maybe bad or negative attitude. At our times, we used to have all sorts of lecturers. We used to have a lecturer who could give us a lot of notes, typed notes, and he would want us to read. And we had also a lecturer who could not give notes. He would say, you go and make your own notes. But I'm telling you, people used to have mixed attitude towards all this. You'll find that for the lecturer who was giving us a lot of notes, people were saying, this man is boring us. He wants us to know everything. But mind you, I've told you that you need to be generalistic before you specialize. So I expect you to know everything. So There are people who hated this lecturer because he was giving too much notes. Then we also had this other lecturer who would not give any note. He would say, these are the headlines. He would give a sketch of what is expected of you. And then he will tell you, make your notes. And when exams came, it will actually, you know your attitude. So you as students who are currently in the university, which attitude do you have certain lecturers, assignments? There are people, if you are working in groups, there are people who will say that, maybe for me, you will call me and I put my registration number and sign. This is all attitude. So what I'm emphasizing here is that you must have the right attitude if you are really to build a good brand and excel actually as an aspiring engineer. I saw actually also something interesting on WhatsApp, whereby they said that if you take the letters of the alphabet from A to Z and you assign 1 to A, then Z 26, that it is only the word attitude which adds up to 100%. Whichever word you want to try, it will never add up to 100%, but it is only the word attitude which will give you a sum of 100%. So that also emphasizes the need to have the right attitude towards things. The way you see things will determine how far you go. And also there is also saying that the kind of attitude you have will determine your altitude. If you have a good attitude, you really attain a higher altitude. So this is also a unique thing which can help you to build your brand. Always have a positive attitude or right attitude towards work, towards assignments, towards any situation in life. Another attribute which I want also to say is about respect. You need to respect your colleagues if you are to have respect in return. It is up to you to set the example and build the relationships of respect. There are people who are disrespectful. They will never respect anybody. Somebody tells them something, but they ignore or minimize. But if we are really to stand out in the job market, or even at university, you need to respect authority. If somebody told you anything, you need to obey. If your class master, or whichever you call him, is a fellow class, a class leader, tells you something, please obey. If the president of MES tells you something, you need to have respect for him because he's in that position to serve. We have just been actually told or hearing from Engineer Irene Kaguta about the 4th Industrial Revolution. And we are all aware we are in the 4th Industrial Revolution. And this enabled by extraordinary technology advances commensurate with those of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd revolutions. Therefore, you must keep up to the latest technologies, softwares that effect and ease your work. She ably told us that these technologies, May was taking notes when she was telling us the operation, the digitalization, and engineering. So you as engineers, or somebody who want to stand out, then you must embrace this 4th Industrial Revolution. You must have programming skills. You must have IT. You must embrace IT, networks, cloud computing, advanced data science. All these are things which has been telling us because we saw that as engineers, this actually 4th Industrial Revolution helps us in data visualization, simulation, the prototyping design. So as engineers, we need to embrace all this. For somebody who could not do any simple simulation, then you will not stand out the test of time. For engineers, actually, when I don't know the audience, but for those in the 3rd year or 4th year, when you do advanced hydraulics, you will be required to do a lot of simulations and prototypes in fluid mechanics. So all these are engineering concepts and you must embrace all this technology. For those of you who are maybe at masters, you are doing actually modeling And most of you end up not to do these things because you fear modeling. But we are saying that if you are really to stand out and build your brand, an aspiring engineer, you need not to run away from these concepts of the fourth industrial revolution. Another thing I want to tell you is that you must also develop the capacity to be creative and innovative. You should be able to come up with new responses to situations. The other day still I was seeing on social media, they were saying Makerere University invented, is it a ventilator? Then they were saying Mbarara University has invented Covidex. Then they were scorning Chambogo University that they can go and weld some beds. So what are we saying here? For you, somebody as an engineer, you need to be innovative and creative. You come up with new responses to situations. In situations like these of COVID times, they are cherishing Makerere. You invented actually a ventilator. The other masters invented the medicine. Now they are saying Chambogo, they should do maybe weld some beds so all what they are trying to make a joke is that you need to come up with new responses to situations, and that is being creative. You come up with something new. Also be able to recognize a good idea when it comes from another source. You should not be envious that it is MAST who invented Covidex, then it should have been maybe Vositema or that. You need to be that. Also, you must be able to improve on situations. Innovation is all about improving existing systems. So as somebody to build your brand, you should be able to come up with new ideas and also be able to improve on the existing for the betterment of mankind. And also, as somebody who wants to build a good brand, you must be able to give constructive feedback. Learn how to provide feedback in any way that is helpful to others. And maybe that is basically when you're at university or college. And once you start practicing, I urge you to adhere to standards, ethics, integrity, good conduct, professionalism, and also be accountable to the community. In whatever you do as engineers, there must be quality. Just like when John introduced me, I'm actually, now I'm not acting, I'm no longer acting, I'm a full assistant commissioner in charge of quality assurance. But briefly, if we talk about quality, there are basically two major key components. In whatever you talk of quality, you cannot miss out the concept of fit for purpose. So as engineers, whatever you do, it must be fit for purpose. And also, when you are talking of quality, you cannot avoid the concept of value for money. There are so many definitions, but if you are going to talk about quality in whatever you do, quality reasoning, there must be fit for purpose. The way you are reasoning must be fit for purpose. And whatever you're doing, there must be value for money. So this concept of maybe value for money as engineers, because I'm saying that whatever you do, there must be value for money. It is basically the value for money in simple terms. When we talk of value for money, it is all about the four equal rated E's. There are these E's. The first E is about economy. Then you have to look at efficiency, effectiveness, and equity. So for an engineer, if you are talking of value for money, in whatever you do, there must be economy, efficiency, effectiveness, and equity. It also seeks to provide answers to the question, is the entity doing the right thing in the best way? So you as a student, are you doing the right thing in the best way? The first E, the economy, is concerned with minimizing the cost of resources used for an infrastructure project, making due regard to appropriate quality of the works. So is there justified actually cost? So if you are talking of economy, then you need to look at minimizing the cost of resources. Then when you talk of efficiency, maximizing output from available resources, or there must be optimal use of resources. And then when we talk of effectiveness as an engineer, then are you spending right? You will find that maybe these terms are a bit confusing, efficiency and effectiveness, but one of them deals with something like doing the thing right and then doing the right thing. These are statements with similar words, but interchanged at the end. The first one is doing the thing right. That is the efficiency or effectiveness. Then another is doing the right thing. So as an engineer, are you doing the right thing? Or are you doing the thing right? In other words, I'm just emphasizing efficiency and effectiveness in whatever you do. And maybe when we talk of the equity, for as an engineer, when we talk of this equity in value for money, it has a high regard for social safeguards. In the past, they used to call them cross-cutting issues. And this, as an engineer, in whatever you do, you must have a high regard for the environment, occupational health and safety, HIV, AIDS, people with ability, climate change, gender, all these. So you must do something in an equitable manner. And here, equity, here we are referring it to these social safeguards. You must have a high regard for the environment as an engineer. You must have high regard for occupational health and safety, HIV, AIDS, people with disabilities, climate change, gender, all these. If you are to talk about value for money, it is disheartening for engineers to be the forefront at spoiling the environment. So you must actually embrace all that. And maybe as I conclude, I want to urge you, the President of MES and Your Excellence, to ensure that all engineering students become members of MES and also become student members of Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers. And upon graduation, you must strive to become corporate members of UIPE and register with ERB in the first maybe 4 to 5 years. Why I'm emphasizing this, I am aware that as MES, there are people who are actually in the college of CDAT, but they are not members of MES. So, Mr. Edmond and your team, you need to employ upon these people to ensure that all these members become members of MES. And also you should try to unify. I don't know, at one time, MES invited us at one of the functions. It was the end of, I think students had just finished their exams, but I was surprised. They invited the Minister of Works as MES, but she sent me there to represent her. Only to reach there, it was civil. It was a group of civil engineers. We were in, I think, Munyonyo. Then on that very day, still as MES, they invited the president then of UIPE. They were in another big hotel, Serena. Then another group, it was in Africana. So I got confused. They were all using MES, but I find that there was that of civil. They were having those parties end of maybe after they have finished the examination as they were going. So I'm saying that you as president of MES and your executive, you need to unify, not to have those, let it be MES, Makerere Engineering Society. You should not allow those divisions of civil, electrical, biomedics, all that. You have a unified society, which is actually too encompassing. And I'm also saying that you need also to impress upon members of MES to be student members of Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers. Maybe as I wind up, I can tell you briefly about Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers, which I am currently heading. This is a professional membership organization that is mandated to bring together the engineering fraternity in Uganda. And just like John introduced, it was established far back in 1972. It's the leading organization for all engineering professions. So it will be, it will not be good for you, whichever course you are doing, not to belong to this engineering profession. And also another thing you need to know here is that you cannot graduate or you cannot register to be a member of, actually to use the prefix engineer before your name. In other words, you cannot register with ERB if you are not a corporate member of Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers. So our vision is basically to be the leading professional organization in the region, advocating for the best standards of engineering practice for the betterment of mankind. So whatever you do as engineers, as you build your brand, you should aim at the betterment of mankind. And once again, I want to take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this kind for the kind invitation, and thank you all for sparing your valuable time to attend this webinar. I want to thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare for the future. I thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Engineer Ben. I'll say whatever you have shared has been eye-opening and a big highlight to all of us. I'm going to just highlight a few things that you said that really exceeded our expectation. One of the key things you tried to explain was a personal brand. And that's something we are taking serious to show that MES and SEDAT at a whole is taking it serious. We have sacrificed our personal peace to come in this big number, to listen to you people out in that world, to tell us the brand we need. That is the first effort we are giving in to work upon our person. I know we might be both chairperson of the UPI, you will detest of the quality of engineers that are coming in place. Then actually about the generation before, you need to generalize before you specialize. That one, our principal, our lecturers have made it a point to us, and we want to thank you a lot for highlighting everything to us. And at this juncture, I'm going to invite my co-moderator to take you through the question sessions. Drop your questions to on the chat, and Maria will guide the rest about that. Maria, are you hearing me? Come in, please.
Yeah, I can hear you, John.
Thank you. Yeah. Your floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Engineer Ben Chamber, for that presentation. Yeah, you've actually tackled most of the things we try to ignore in class, like teamwork, the things that we ignore in class. You've tackled them. So we shall invite some few questions from the audience, and we shall expect you to address them. But we are so delighted for that information. It has actually tackled us. Yeah, so I will read a few questions from the group chat. So we expect people to give in their questions. Yeah, Engineer Chamber, you can choose the questions that you're going to tackle and try to answer to the students. But you've actually tackled most of the things that we try to ignore in class, especially.
Okay, thank you. I can see in the chat whereby somebody was asking whether UIPE's role in ensuring public and private companies to offer internship to students and building the experience. Yes, at UIPE and the ERB, we have a dedicated program. We have been having the graduate training program, whereby maybe for those who have graduated, we have been getting for them placements with companies. We have collaborative networks with the Uganda Association of Consulting Engineers and also with UNABSEC. So we have been working closely to ensure that for people who have graduated, at least we fix them and we get them some places of internship. And equally for those who are actually in university, who want to do internships and with the other various organizations, even where I work at Ministry of Works, we have been actually training very many. Once you feel you want to train with us, you just maybe write, and we have been actually, on average, each year we have been actually training like 20 students from Ministry of Works. We have recommended very many to train with UNRWA and even private organizations. So as Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers, we have been actually at the center of ensuring that we want our students to get, because I told you, it is only people with the right skills and competencies, and you can only acquire these competencies while you are still at school through internships and industrial training. So we have been doing that. Then another concern I see here is that he was asking, how do you join UIPE? As maybe somebody who wants to join the institution, I've told you it is the leading organization which brings all together the engineering fraternity in Uganda. Maybe there are various classes, and for you who are now still at university, that's why in my closing remark, I told you that the president of MES must encourage all students to become members of UIPE. For you who are still at university, you belong to the class of student members. And what it involves here is that when you visit our website, there is a form which you just fill, and maybe you take to the dean or to the principal. You can just sign and propose you, and then maybe you deliver these application forms to our secretariat here in Chambogo. So for a student member, it is very easy. You just join. We don't require any special requirement, but when you graduate and you want to become a member, we ask you to attach your transcript and testimonial and plus unemployment letter. This one is basically to ensure that we are tracking the career growth, how you are growing. That's why you ask for the employment record and possibly your papers. And now for this one who asks how to join as a corporate member, this one comes when you have had some experience in the field, and it comes maybe when you have practiced for more than 2 years as a pupil engineer, and they require you to document any one project where you have participated. You tell us what was your role of actually on that project. So briefly, but still the procedure is there on the website for the guidelines on how to join in the various classes of UIPE membership. And then this one is asking, what is the requirement to register with ERB? As I've told you, you first become a corporate member of the institution. And I've told you that a corporate member, it is somebody after you have graduated, you will need to be practicing under a senior engineer who will be guiding you. You are under mentorship of a professional engineer for the first 2 years as a pupil engineer. Then we have allowed in the 3rd and 4th year after your graduation, you write a career report. A career report is mainly more of an enhanced CV, which detail your career journey, when you are born, the schools you attended, where you did your industrial training, because that is also very key. We emphasize a lot industrial training. So you must take industrial training, the companies you worked with, which projects you worked on, that is in the career report. Just like the way you write your CV, but you must explain it in detail. Then the technical report is that out of the many projects you have handled, you document anyone. You tell us what was your role. And for civil engineers, we emphasize that you need to take us through the whole project life cycle. For electrical, telecom, mechanical, this might not be applicable to document the whole project life cycle of a project. But for a civil engineer, it's very, very easy. You tell us what was your role in planning, what was your role in execution, what was your role in O&M, what is maybe at decommissioning. You take us through the whole project, but clearly we just want your role. It's what you document. And once you have documented that, we take your reports for assessment. They look at it. If it is good enough, then they score you and you are invited for interaction. And once you able to defend your project, because we interact to see that it is you who really did it. And then after that, you can, we second you to ERB, and ERB will register you. And these days it is a joint assessment, it's a joint assessment committee. You don't appear for interviews between UIP and ERB separately. We do it at once. And once you have satisfied the panel, definitely now the registrar will give you the prefix of using the title engineer. And as engineers, maybe, I don't know, when you are studying introduction to engineering, you're aware that it is illegal to affix the title ENG before your name if you are not really on the register. So that is briefly how you become an engineer.
Okay, thank you a lot, Engineer Ben. From the questions I'm seeing people really understanding everything in depth, and I would say thank you everyone for your participation. And at the same time, I think Engineer Ben has narrowed down everything, especially when he went to the extent of giving examples based on what is near us, especially the example of Makerere students inventing COVID testing kits, and Mbarara inventing COVID-X, and Chambogo making double deckers. We know that, but the knowledge about it was we need to be innovative. And so with that I want to tell you, we have been having an engagement called MES Incubation, where we are teaching people to innovate, and it has been happening over now for 2 months, for 2 weeks to 3 weeks. And I know the next SEDAT Open Day, it's going to be a unique one, because people are very equipped, are drilled, and really energized to do that. I'm going to invite Maria to say a few words, as we also, Maria and Maureen, to say a few words as we also wind up. And I want to thank all of you. I want to let you know that we are having almost 200 people on Zoom, then people more than 100 are live streaming from all over the country on YouTube. And I want to let you people know that we are going to be giving you certificates for attendance. Of course, you can't attend such a significant conference, and you don't get appreciated as a token of it. But the best appreciation will be the one where you push yourself and labor yourself, follow the words I've told you, listen to whatever thing I've told you, and be it. Trust me, we are going to be in the field. We shall have the qualities, and you look up to these days. And one of the last things I want to say, Mr. Ben acknowledged that you need to join MES and UPI. These bodies are yours, and we are going to emphasize it. Get in touch with any MES committee member. You can get a member so that you can get to know of all these programs that benefit you. Foremost, I want to actually also let you know we are going to be sending notification, a link on your chat. I'm seeing it already for registering to get the certificates. As we wind up, allow me also to once again share the team, the MES executive team that has enabled this event, that have sacrificed their personal peace to ensure that we have this event's marvelous during this time, and have stood up with you mostly to ensure that you get the best. I'm certain all of you had your expectations of this event, and I'm very sure I've exceeded. Tomorrow we have another conference about the same topics, and to give you a broad view, as Mr. Ben said, we need to generalize and to specialize. We have Chiramoto's CEO coming in tomorrow. Our project manager at UMEME is coming in tomorrow. So tomorrow, at the same time, let's keep time so that we can have our career enhanced and position ourselves. So I'm going to invite Maria and Maureen to give our remarks as we wind up. And I'll say I'm very honored and much glad to be part of it. Maria, can you hear me?
One is supposed to follow.
Okay, floor is yours. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you so much, John, for moderating this webinar. And we thank our speakers for the delighting words. They have actually encouraged us, have given us the hope in our careers. They have actually taken us to the career environment itself, because most of the time we are doing the theory in class, but they have actually taken us to the environment itself. John has actually said all the things that you need to know. We've had, I think we've satisfied your expectations, and we are so delighted for you guys. We are happy for your attendance. We actually expected this thing to be massive, as it has been, and we shall award you certificates for your participation, because it was really a great honor. We thank our speakers. And then the other thing is, I want to add on the UIPE and MES registration. Please join MES. And UIPE is actually ongoing at campus as members. You can register at campus as members. So when they open the university, you can actually join UIPE. MES has made it easy for you guys to register for UIPE. Yeah, thank you so much, John. And I would like to invite Maureen to say something. Thank you so much for attending. Thanks, MES, for organizing this webinar. Thank you so much for the speaker.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maria and John. And I thank everyone who has attended today. Wherever we are, I thank all members from different universities, because I know we are not only students from Makerere University who have been in this webinar today. We recognize your presence wherever you are. We thank you so much for being part. And we will not stop thanking our speakers today, Engineer Irene Kaguta and Engineer Ben Chamber, and appreciate the effort of our principal and the Dean School of Engineering, Engineer Dr. Dorothy. We really appreciate your effort you have always rendered to us as MES, and the MES committee for working together with us.
You guys remove the music.
For working together as a team.
With the music.
We can't do it alone. We thank all people who have been there for us. And for MES and UIPE registration, actually for MES, it's Makerere Engineering Society, because some members may not know what MES is. So students from other universities, I request you to get in touch with the engineering societies under your universities. You see how they register. But as per Makerere University, us as Makerere Engineering Society, we have membership IDs, which we always give to students who register. And then for UIPE, as one of my accommodators has talked about it, we also register as student members from the university. But as of now, due to the lockdown, it has been put to hold. And when the university opens again, you're all welcome to register. I thank you so much. Hope to see you tomorrow again. And I welcome John to close the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I would say we are coming to the very end, which may be bad, but every good thing has come to an end. Highlight to bring to attention to us. We are going to see a fanatical generation of engineers whose claim to fame is to do that which is good and right and outstanding and do unique work, basing on the numbers that have showed up here, basing on the numbers and the positivity that is happening, and underscoring the fact that there is also COVID-19, which would have inhibited them from not attending this, but their engagements have made it possible for us to believe that. With those remarks, I would want to say thank all of you. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. I'm much glad and honored being part of this, and you get certificates to remember that you were part of it. Thank you a lot, Mr. Ben Chimba. Thank you a lot, Engineer Irene. We shall be working hand in hand with you to ensure that we build a country of good and quality engineers, and the future is very promising for us. Thank you very much once again.
Okay, thank you, colleagues, and I wish you a nice day. I've shared the presentation with Mr. Walusimbi. He will maybe give it to those who might be interested to pick some few actually issues there. So I've already shared with him on his email. Feel free to interact with Mr. Walusimbi for a copy. It can be of value. I thank you very much.
Thank you. So we are closing the meeting. Then one last thing is tomorrow, keep time for tomorrow's meeting. And yeah, so don't forget to register for the certificates as well. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.